Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishnarpanamastu. I extend many hearty greetings to all the lovers of Bhagavad Gita and all the devotees of Lord Krishna who are going to celebrate tomorrow Bhagavad Gita Jayanti. Tomorrow, all over the world, the lovers of Bhagavad Gita and devotees of Lord Krishna are going to celebrate the auspicious occasion of the descent of the Brahma Vidya called Srimad Bhagavad Gita from the divine mouth of Lord Krishna in the Kurukshetra, the battleground of Kurukshetra. So now today, to celebrate, to observe this Gita Jayanti in a meaningful way, what I have decided to do is to present before you in simple terms the quintessential message of Bhagavad Gita. Jagat Guru Adi Shankaracharya says that Srimad Bhagavad Gita is the quintessence of entire Vedas. So if we try to understand the quintessence of Bhagavad Gita, we would be able to understand the essence of the entire Vedic culture, the fundamentals of Sanatana Dharma, and the metaphysical background of Vedanta philosophy. To make it easier for all of us to understand those grand narratives and the lessons delivered through Bhagavad Gita, I have decided to pick up one symbolic sloka of Bhagavad Gita, and that is from the 13th chapter, and the sloka number is 13th. The 13th verse of the 13th chapter we are going to understand as to what the Lord is trying to convey to the entire mankind through Arjuna as an instrument, as a medium. So the 13th verse of the 13th chapter called Chhatra Chhatragya Vibhaga Yoga first goes like this. I will chant the mantra in Sanskrit, then I will give you a English rendering, literal rendering, and then try to interpret and understand and explain the philosophical message and essence of that. So it goes like that. Sarvatah panipadam tat sarvatokchi shiro mukham sarvatah shroti malloke sarvamavritya tisthati. The translation, simple translation of this sloka is Sarvatah Panipadam Tat. That supreme truth, that Brahman, that God, whose hands and feet are everywhere, whose eyes and ears are everywhere, whose heads and faces are everywhere, is pervading every single object in the universe, covering the entire universe, and every individual object is being pervaded and permeated by none other than that supreme reality, the Brahman, the Paramatman, the God. So, who is God? Who is God? Lord Krishna says, the God is the supreme reality, the substratum of the entire universe, whose hands and feet are everywhere, whose eyes and ears are everywhere, whose heads and faces are present everywhere, and thereby the God, the Lord, the Brahman is an ever-present reality everywhere, in everything, in every way. If I could answer this most fundamental, perennial and ancient question, who is God? I would say, on the basis of the entire Vedanta philosophy, the Bhagavad Gita and this verse, that God is ever present everywhere, in everything, as everything. Repeats. God is ever present everywhere, in everything, as everything. This line contains the entire essence of Vedanta philosophy, and Bhagavad Gita, which is Brahma Vidya Yoga Shastra, the science of Brahman and the scripture of the yoga. The most fundamental query and quest and investigation in the science of Brahman is to find out, to investigate the supreme reality, ordinarily called Brahman, Paramatman, or God. So who is God? The God as revealed and in the Upanishads, in Brahma Sutra and Bhagavad Gita, that God is ever present everywhere, in everything, as everything, and that sums up the entire message, revelation, the divine revelation of the Bhagavad Gita, of the Upanishads. When I say that as everything, it means there is nothing other than Brahman. The Brahman alone is pervading and permeating everything, everyone, everywhere, from within and from without, through and through. The golden ring, the golden bangle, the golden necklace is nothing but within and without the gold and gold alone. The waves on the surface of the ocean are nothing but water, within and without, through and through. Even so, this entire visible phenomenal universe is nothing but Brahman, Paramatman, God of the nature of pure consciousness, Shuddha Bodha Swarupa, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Infinite existence and infinite knowledge is the fundamental nature of supreme reality as revealed by Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna and Upanishads. And that is called God. Because that is the supreme reality, that is source, substance and substratum of the entire universe. And to use the words of पूज्य भगवत्पाद जगद्गुरु आदि शंकराचार्य, ब्रह्म सत्यम जगन मिथ्या जीवो ब्रह्मैव नापरः. That Brahman, that Paramatman, that God of the nature of infinite existence, pure consciousness and absolute bliss is nothing but source, substance and substratum of everything, everyone. So Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Ishwarah sarvabhutanam hirdeshe Arjuna tishtati. O Arjuna, Ishwar, me, the supreme, incorporeal, attributeless Brahman, the ultimate reality, is ever present in every creature, in every being, in the cavity of their hearts, that is, in their mind, in their intellect, as Sakshi Chaitanya, as witnessing consciousness, as Pratyagatman, indwelling ruler, as Antaryami. So Lord Krishna himself is saying that I am present, the supreme reality, the omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, almighty Lord is ever present in every creature without any distinction. Therefore, at present not as an external ad hoc something petty. No, as essence, as Atman. He is saying, Aham Atma Gudakesha Sarvabhutashaya Isthitaha Ahamadisya Madhyasya. What he is saying? Bhutantam Antacha. I am present, O Arjuna, O Gudakesha, I am present in the heart of every creature, and I am the origin, the sustenance and the dissolution of entire universe, all the beings. Ahamadisya madhyasya cha bhutan tasya antakaha. I am the end of. So it means this entire universe arises out of God, exists in God, and finally dissolves back in God. That God in Vedanta is called Paramatman or Brahman. Attributeless supreme reality of the nature of pure consciousness, infinite existence, and eternal bliss. So let's now come to understand the details of this main shloka we are trying to understand today. Sarvatah panipadam tat sarvatokchi shiromukham sarvatah srutimalloke sarvam avritya tishtati. We will focus on this. Because it is not the one sloka. In many of the places in Bhagavad Gita, dozens of places and everywhere in Upanishads, the same teaching is there. In Bhagavad Gita itself, the 7th chapter, 19th sloka, Vasudeva Sarvam iti. He is saying, Vasudeva means ever present, all pervasive. I am present, me, Vasudeva is all this, all the phenomenal, visible universe is nothing but Vasudeva, the God. It means, as the Vedanta says, and the Mahavakya, Chandogya Upanishad says, Sarvam khalu idam Brahma. This entire universe is Brahman indeed, the supreme reality indeed, the God alone is appearing as universe. There is nothing, neha nanasti kinchana. There is no duality in the supreme truth. the Lord, the God, the Brahman, and his inscrutable Maya, the projection power, is all that is, there is nothing else. And God in his full glory is ever present in every creature, not only the humans, the wise ones, the enlightened ones, no. From the highest to the lowliest, from Brahma to the single cell amoeba. Even the mosquito, squirrel, birds, lion, tiger, elephant, donkey, horse, any creature and every creature is nothing but manifestation and appearance of Lord himself. So what the Lord is saying in this 13th verse is that Sarvatah Pani Padam Tat. It means every. Now I am going to put the philosophical connotation and dimension to this verse. When he is saying Sarvatah Pani Padam Tat Sarvatokshi Shiromukham, what he is saying that all the feet, all the hands, all the eyes, all the ears, all the faces, all the heads are that of God, Brahman and Paramatman. All heads, all faces are heads and faces of God. All eyes and ears are the eyes and ears of God. All the hands and feet are that of God alone. It has huge implication, the most radical revelation of the Lord. It means, now what I will do in the limited time, I will focus on the two dimensions. The most fundamental problem, our quest is to realize how to see God, how to understand God, how to cognize God, the divinity, and how to realize that God. And second, then what to do to achieve, to attain, to be one with that supreme reality. So I will focus on this. So now this single shloka of Bhagavad Gita can put in its utter nakedness the nature of Brahman before you. If you are open to and you have a sincere and keen desire to know God, know your own reality. Knowing God means knowing yourself. Because you are nothing but God, you are nothing but Brahman. There is nothing other than Brahman ever, anywhere. So knowing God doesn't mean knowing an external, remote, inscrutable, abstract entity. No, knowing God or knowing truth or knowing Brahman means knowing your supreme reality, knowing your true nature, because you too are nothing but Brahman in the disguise, in the well, as a jiva. So, whenever you see any human being or any animal, any living creature walking, it is the Lord. The feet of the Lord alone is walking. Know for sure that no one else had the power to walk. Whenever you see the pairs of hands working, grasping, functioning, right there you are seeing the functioning, shining revelation and manifestation of God himself, Lord himself, because none else had the power to do anything. The pure consciousness, Lord God Brahman, as pure consciousness, is the substratum of every action, every behavior. Nothing is possible in the absence of consciousness, that is Brahman. Sannidhi matram. The God, the Brahman himself is actionless, akarta abhokta. he doesn't do anything ultimately, and he doesn't experience anything in his attributeless dimension, and yet he alone is the doer of all these things, because by mere presence, sanidhi matram, without the presence of the Lord nothing happens. As in the case of sun, without the sunrise and sunshine, this entire solar system will come to naught. So God, Lord, Brahman alone is substratum of every action. So coming to the verse, whenever somebody is walking, the Lord himself is walking directly. You can do the direct vision. Himself, Lord Krishna is saying, every pair of hands which is functioning, the Lord himself is functioning. The pair of eyes when are seeing something, the Lord, the God sitting in the heart of that creature as witnessing consciousness, Sakshi Chaitanya, Pratyagatman, alone is seeing. Whenever the ears are hearing something, the Lord, the God himself is hearing. There is none who has the power to know anything. Wherever there is a mouth or a tongue, all these 6 organs represent what the Lord is trying to say. All the motor organs and all the sensory organs are that of God alone. Through all the motor organs and through all the sensory organs, the Lord himself is functioning. The Lord himself is shining. God can be directly apprehended, cognized, experienced in the functioning of the motor organs and the sensory organs. When you know something, when your eyes see something, the knower and seer within is none other than Brahman, Paramatman, the Lord, the God, sitting within you in your heart as Jivatma, that is witnessing consciousness, Sakshi Chaitanya. So God alone is seeing through the instruments of eyes, ears, with the aid of mind and intellect. All the sense organs are inert, insentient. They are energized and put to function in their respective spheres by pure consciousness. And that pure consciousness is the supreme reality, that alone is called Brahman, God and Paramatman. And that pure consciousness is ever present within you, without you. And ever shining. Everything that you sense from morning to evening is happening in and through Brahman alone, in and through God alone. Jagat Guru Adi Shankaracharya says, Brahmaiva sarvanamani rupani vividhani cha karmanyapi samagrani vibharti tisrutir jagau. In Aparokshanubhuti, Adi Shankaracharya says, all the names and forms, everything is nothing but the Supreme Lord, the Brahman. And every action that is happening anywhere ever is happening through, happening by, happening in Brahman alone. Karmanyapi samagrani bibhartiti srutir jagao. No action is possible, no activity is possible without God, the Brahman, the pure consciousness. In Atmabodh he says, Drishyate sruyate yadvad brahmano anyana tad bhavet tatvajnana cha tad brahma satchidanandamadvayam tadayuktam akhilam vasto vyavaharastadhanvitaha tasmat sarvagatam sarvam chire sarpirivakhile. In essence, Jagadguru Adi Shankaracharya is saying exactly what Lord Krishna is saying in that sloka. He is saying that whatever you are seeing, whatever you are hearing, whatever you are perceiving is nothing but Brahman alone. God alone is appearing as the entire universe. The entire names and forms in this phenomenon universe are none but that of God, the Lord, the Brahman. The pure consciousness alone is appearing as the entire universe. As in the case of dream, the dreamer himself or herself projects through the power of the mind, from the light of the mind and consciousness, the entire dream world. There is no dream world in reality, but it's a mere projection. Even so, the waking world, the entire waking world outside the waker is mere projection of the mind, and the essence of that is nothing but pure consciousness, that is Brahman, the God, the Lord. So every name, every form, and everything you hear, the objects of perception, the words, the sight, the color being perceived by the eyes, all of them are nothing but Lord. Lord is not just the seer. In every act of seeing, the Lord is directly present as the seer and also as the object being seen and the action of seeing. All this Trinity is manifestation of the inscrutable power of the Lord called Maya. The one has become three. There is no reality. The pure consciousness, indivisible, non-dual consciousness appears as seer, the object being seen and the act of seeing. But in reality, the consciousness, prajnanam brahma, consciousness is verily Brahman. Prakrishta jnana, prajnana. Prakrishta jnana, pure knowledge, where there is no duality, where there is no trinity, there is not bifurcation or trifurcation of the act of seeing having two other dimensions, the object of seeing and the subject of seeing. This eternal universal subject is none other than the God, the Atman, your own Atman. God, the Lord, the Brahman is the eternal universal subject, and the subject alone is projecting the entire objective world out of itself. So the entire objective world is hidden in the subject, and that subject you are. As the Atman, the Lord is ever present within you, the God, the Brahman is ever present to you, and once you dissociate yourself with the upadhi, the limiting adjunct of body-mind complex, you are right now, right here, the same Supreme Lord, the Supreme Self, Paramatman, Brahman, the God, of the nature of pure consciousness, infinite existence and blissfulness infinite. That is your true nature, but all the sorrows and sufferings and the finiteness and limitations are imposed because of ignorance of our true nature. That is why the entire object of Vedanta philosophy is to know our true nature. The supreme salvation, the supreme liberation, the culmination of the human glory lies not through action. You are not going to achieve the highest by any amount of action or work. The ultimate glory which brings permanent cessation of all sorrows and sufferings and attainment of unceasing absolute bliss and unconditional love is possible only by knowledge of the true nature of yourself. That is called Atmagyan, Atma Sakshatkar or Brahma Sakshatkar. Because you are always that pure Atman, you are always that Paramatman, you are nothing but Brahman, because there is nothing other than Brahman in the universe. The one Brahman alone is appearing as many jivas, innumerable jivas. As again, Adi Shankaracharya would say, एक अग्निर्यथैको भुवनं प्रविष्टो रूपं रूपं प्रतिरूपो बभूव एकस्तथा सर्वभूतान्तरात्मा रूपं रूपं प्रतिरूपो बहिश्च. Based on the Upanishadic teachings, the Adi Shankara is saying, and these are the lines of Upanishad essentially, that the one indivisible, non-dual Brahman, the supreme reality alone is appearing in all the beings, all the creatures of the universe, as in the case of air, wind. The air is one indivisible reality, but it enters into every being, every separate entity. Even so, the Supreme God, the Supreme Lord, is one indivisible, non-dual reality, and yet He takes the form of every being and enters into it. So the one Lord, the one non-dual, indivisible Lord alone is appearing at this multiplicity, diversity of the entire universe. There is none other than the Lord and God. So, first, how to recognize God, how to identify God, and how to realize that supreme reality, that I was trying to put in simple terms, that whenever you see any action, the Lord Himself, the God alone is making it possible, and the Lord is present directly there. In the functioning of your senses, the God is shining, ever active. And every action is happening through God only. That's one thing. Now, what are the moral, practical implications for ordinary human beings? Everybody is not a metaphysical investigator. But there must be very fundamental, important lessons, perennial lessons from these truths. Now I'll put in simple terms. If the Lord Himself, the God Himself, the Brahman Himself is present everywhere in every form, and He Himself, herself, is making every action possible, every function possible, then the import of this is, the lesson of this is that I, being the same reality, and the so-called others which are appearing, the entire objective world appearing as outside me, is none other than the Lord and the God. Therefore, you, if you are a true devotee of Lord Krishna, or if you are a true, you have true quest of the truth, then it is not going to be possible ever for you to humiliate anybody, to hate anybody, to harm anybody, to exploit anybody. Can you? Because you yourself are present in the other. You, in your ultimate reality, you are that Brahman, you are that God. Whenever you try to harm, humiliate, exploit, think ill of others, in fact, you are inflicting ill upon yourself, because there is nothing and none other than you yourself appearing as the external world. So all the hatreds, jealousy, desire to conquer others, desire to exploit others, desire to harm others arises out of ignorance about your true nature. Once you realize your true nature, then it becomes impossible for you to hate anybody. Can you hate yourself? Do you know anybody in the universe who ever hates himself or herself? Has anybody ever on the planet come who begins exploiting herself or himself? Or try to kill himself or herself? Even those who commit suicide, it's simply because of the unbearable pain of some or the other kind. They want to get rid of that, of the pain and suffering. That's why they end their life. They want to put an end to that suffering. And this entire range of suffering an ordinary human being is subjected to is because of the ignorance. So one of the dimensions of the Lord, known as Sacchidananda in Vedanta, is Ananda. The Sat and Chit without Ananda becomes falsified. The Lord cannot be free from unconditional love and infinite bliss. The most fundamental definition of Brahman, Nirguna Nirakara Brahman, attributed bliss Brahman or God, is ever quoted either by Adi Shankaracharya or all the commentators, that is from Taittiriya Upanishad. What is the fundamental nature of the God? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. That is called Swarupa Lakshana. Then in the next verse is Tatastha Lakshana, that is called incidental or secondary definition of God. That is Yato va imani bhutani yena jatani jivanti tat prayanta visambishanti. The fundamental description and nature of the God, Brahman, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. The infinite knowledge, that is pure consciousness, and infinite existence and infinite knowledge is the fundamental nature of the Supreme Reality. And the incidental, that is called Tatastha Lakshana, that is secondary. The functional definition is that Supreme Reality, that out of which the entire universe is born, in which or in whom that exists, and whom it finally dissolves back. So that Satyam Jnanam Anantam, if the God is present in the hearts of every jiva, as Shiva, as you say, Hridi Sarvasvishthita, in the 13th chapter itself, Jyotishamapi tad jyotihi tamasah paramuchyate Jnanam Geyam Jnanam Gyata Geyam what? Hridi Sarvasya Vishthita Jnanam Geyam Jnanagamyam Hridi Sarvasya Vishthita. He is saying, I am light of all the lights. I am always beyond darkness, and I am knowledge absolute. I am accessible, and also I am accessible through knowledge, and I am object of knowledge also, I myself. And I am ever present in the hearts of every jiva, every creature. Hridi sarvasya vishchitam, in the hearts. That is buddhi, antakarna. So that Satyam Jnanam Ananta Brahman is not an external remote reality sitting somewhere. He is ever present within you, and he is functioning. He is working. Everything that is happening within you and outside you, it's happening through that power, that energy. The body itself can't do anything. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Maharishi Yajnavalkya says, describing and explaining the Sakshat Aparoksha Brahm, that no one can hear anything but he. He is referring to the Supreme Reality, Brahman. The eyes can't see anything but he. The ears can't hear anything but he, the Supreme Reality. The mind can't think but he alone thinks, because God alone is the hearer of all hearing. The Brahman alone is the ultimate seer of all seeing. The God alone is the thinker of all thoughts. The God alone is the knower of all knowledge. So in every act of knowing, seeing, hearing, thinking, the God can be realized, God can be experienced. And yet, we think that the God and the Lord and Brahman is some remote reality. It has nothing to do with my life, my functioning, my good, bad, ugly dimensions of personality. No, the God is right now, right here, immediately. That is why it's called Sakshat Aparokshanubhuti. Immediate, direct realization of that supreme reality is possible, and that leads to what is called Moksha, liberation, cessation of all sorrows and sufferings, freedom from the cycle of infinite birth and death. Therefore, to conclude, I would say, to celebrate the Gita Jayanti in a meaningful way, just chanting some of the slokas, holding celebration, it's fine, all this is very important, very good, but the perennial teachings and lessons of the Bhagavad Gita, unless and until internalized, imbibed and understood and acted upon in your own practical life, it's meaningless. All the greatness that this Indian culture acquired in ancient times was because of the great and grand teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads. Bhagavad Gita is one of the Upanishads. It is the Brahma Vidya, the knowledge of the supreme reality. Brahman and the God and the Lord is not an external, some superior or inferior. No, it's you. Investigation into Brahman is investigation into your own true nature. The desire to find God is the desire to find yourself. You think that you are living a life, meaningful life. More than 99.99% of even the so-called good, rich, meaningful lives are wasted lives. Because you are always living a life of beggar. One desire is satisfied, immediately 5 desires crop up. Because we are living a life of ignorance. Life of the ignorance of our true nature, which is infinite existence, pure consciousness and infinite ocean of bliss. Love and bliss, even a single drop of love, bliss and beauty is not possible in this phenomenal universe. It's all shadow, poor pale shadow. The entire beauty, love and bliss and pleasure you are seeking in the phenomenal universe is unreal. It has no substance of itself. It borrows and appears as real out of my own reality. My own consciousness lends its power, the blissfulness to the mind, and then mind lends it to the sensory organs, and that is superimposed on the object of beauty or object of love or object of pleasure outside. It is none of theirs, it's mine. All bliss, beauty and love is mine. That is pure consciousness, the Atman. Because Atman alone is the only reality, the self. The individual self, when free from, dissociated from the individual upadhis of this mind-body complex, is nothing but Paramatman, the Brahman. And thereby, the infinite ocean of love and bliss and beauty is intrinsic, inherent to you. You don't have to seek from anywhere else. Does fire go for begging that, please give me some light, please give me some power to burn someone? No. Even so, you don't have to borrow and beg love, bliss, beauty or power or infinity. Nothing. It is intrinsic and inherent in your true nature, but you have come to believe yourself out of ignorance that you are this pitiable, pathetic body which was born a few decades ago and it will die. This mind, ever-changing mind, pathetic beggar. No. You are not in the body, you are not in the mind, you are not limited in this individuality. You are that in which this body and the sum of total body and the entire universes are born, they exist and die. You are in none, everything else is within you. You are substratum, source and substance of everything. You are absolute reality. You are not dependent reality. Lord Krishna is trying to impress upon his devotees through Arjuna that realize your grand nature, the infinity, the immortality. Dehi nityam abadhyoyam dehe sarvasya bharata. In Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter. The Dehi, that is the soul, the Atman, he is saying, is ever invincible, immortal. It can't be killed by anyone. And in every body, not only human body, from the body of the Brahma, highest cosmic Hiranyagarbha, to the single cell amoeba or the mosquito or ant, the Atman in each one of these is immortal. And the one Brahman, the God, the Lord himself has appeared. Rupam rupam prati rupo babhuva. He himself has taken the form of all this. As the air or the fire is non-dual, attributeless, all-pervading reality, but as per the Upanishads, it assumes the fire is also in the wood, fire in the coal, in the petrol also, in liquid form. But fire is one. Even so, the Lord of the nature of pure consciousness is ever present in everything, in everyone, in every jiva, in a life form. So it is possible. Lord Krishna is saying, if you are a devotee of Lord Krishna but you don't understand his message, his teachings, and you don't practice, it's useless. It has no value. The most grand and perennial reservoir of knowledge was revealed to the mankind by the divine mouth of Lord Krishna, and yet we are thirsty, we are living life of beggars. So life is going to become meaningful only and only when we realize the divinity of our own life. Divinity means infinity. Divinity means invincibility. Divinity means freedom from all sorrows, sufferings, all attachment, all desire. All sorrows and sufferings are arising out of desire. And why desire is arising? Desire is arising out of ignorance of our true nature. We think that, oh, I am this pathetic 5-6 foot long, this 2 diameter, this body, the mind complex, ever changing, this beggar called mind. No. Your desires can't be satisfied unless and until you know your true nature. You are the emperor of the emperors. There is no power superior than you. There is no power higher than you in your essence as Atman. Once you realize your non-duality, invincibility, because there is none other than you. Who is going to harm you? And who is going to give you love, bliss and beauty? Because there is none other than you. It is because of your ignorance that you are seeking love, bliss and beauty and glamour and glory and praise and honor and respect outside. There is no outside, there is no other. You only are the one indivisible reality. That is called Sacchidananda, the infinite existence, pure consciousness and eternal bliss, your true nature. Therefore, to conclude with that same 13th verse of the 13th chapter, that God, the Lord, the Brahman is ever present in every action of every body, every sense. You can realize that is the method of direct, immediate self-realization, God realization, Sakshat Aparokshanubhuti, right now, right here. No, you don't have to wait for anything else. But the biggest problem is that you are so obsessed with the trivia, the external world, the mortal, fleshy, gooey world of trivia, trash. You are a trash trader. The vast majority of human race is nothing but trash traders. So you have to break free from that and realize and look within. Shut out your senses, quieten your mind, and at the center of your existence, when it says aham, 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 aham pratyaya, the I consciousness, my, that is Brahman, that is Atman. Right now, this is Sakshat Aparokshanubhuti. The I is Brahman, I is Paramatman, I is God, and I is not seated there in the body as a physical entity. It is of the nature of knowledge. Try to locate the I. Where is it located? It is just for instruction that it is said that it is in the heart. The heart means the innermost core of your existence, and that innermost core of your existence is nothing but pure consciousness, the knowledge, and I is that. That is why in Bible Jesus Christ says, I am what I am. I am that I am. It means pure consciousness, the knowledge of I. So you are always that Supreme Lord, the immortal God, the all-powerful, almighty Brahman you are, and it is possible only in the body of humans because the discriminating faculty of human beings is developed and evolved enough to understand this grand truth of your own self. So let me wish and pray that this perennial eternal teaching of Lord Krishna through Bhagavad Gita is going to become an immediate remedy, panacea for all the ills and woes. Self-realization is the panacea for all the ills and woes afflicting the entire human race, afflicting the entire world, and afflicting you. Unless and until you realize your true nature and you recognize your divinity and infinity